Hello, Houyans, and welcome to a brand new interview. Now, you may notice something different about this interview. The microphone. The old microphone was freezing, and in Taskmaster 1, the most popular YouTube channel in the TGM production system, has been freezing and duplicating the sound. Now, we've fixed it, fingers crossed. The new microphone, the Blue Yeti Studio Professional. A review will be coming to TGM Productions very soon. But welcome to another interview. Today, I'm here with a very, very special person, the cleverest person I think I've ever interviewed. No offense, Alex Horn. You're very clever, but this person's very clever. He's best known for being a QI elf, which if you don't know what that is, you'll find out very soon. It's the one, the only Alex Bell.
Hello, hi Tom, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm all right. You're welcome. Now, for people who may not know who you are, would you be able to give a brief explanation of who you are in approximately 2 sentences, if you can?
Sure. So I work for QI, and QI is the TV show on BBC Two, the quiz show with Sandy Toksvig and Alan Davis, and we also make books and a podcast called No Such Thing as a Fish, and radio shows and other TV shows and all sorts of other bits of media. And what we do is we make facts, we put facts together with comedy, so it's all about interesting facts. So I'm a researcher looking up interesting things and also doing all sorts of other things as well.
Yeah, and you're very clever from your appearances and no such thing. I googled it the other day because I was working out how many episodes you had actually been on because you named as like the most regular guest on No Such Thing as a Fish, and it looks so. I think the earliest episodes I can think of was episode 8, and then you were in episode 300 and whatever. And you're in so many.
I don't know how many I'm in, but it's good to know. Good to know I'm a major player.
Yeah, because there's a No Such Thing as a Fish fan wiki page. I found out.
I saw this the other day because we're working on some stuff for the live tour, and we need different material. And so I was just searching everything that fans have done.
Yeah.
And yeah, I stumbled across it. It's a pretty impressive piece of work.
I don't know how these people obviously have gotten too much time in their hands to know every.
I wouldn't say that. I would say super fans have got just the right amount of time on their hands.
I mean, what's really interesting that I wouldn't even have thought of it. They're not only like categorize how many episodes you're in, they've also put links so you can go to different episodes. Because I think,
oh my god,
Spotify only goes up to episode 10, which is quite annoying because when you want to listen to from episode 1 through to the thing. But if what's really interesting about the podcast is that that's the only podcast that I know of that's also available on Apple Music.
Yeah, we try to make it available everywhere so that whoever's got what phone and what system and what software works. But
yeah,
God, that's very organized of those people making the wiki. I guess it makes it easy for the stalkers if they want to listen to every single episode that they've been in.
Yeah, and it also has like trivia about you, and I think one of the funniest things I think I ever read was how you were almost hit by a bus. I mean, how can you? Not just because you're almost hit by a bus; it's because of the statement afterwards. And what happened? You almost being hit by a bus. How did that happen?
I was at university and I was on my bike, and I was going down a road it didn't have a pavement. There was just the road, and then there was just like a really big old stone brick wall. This is like Cambridge, so it's just like you usually going past something incredibly old, right close to the wall, and the roads are really narrow. And yeah, a bus came up behind me and just sort of started like overtaking, but it didn't leave me any room, so I was sort of getting crushed, and so I had to shout and get his attention.
But buses are very dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, they absolutely can be, but this wasn't like I think I just told somebody on like just because somebody asked how my day had been, and now it's become this running gag that I got killed by a bus.
Yeah, and buses are a nightmare because when you're driving behind a bus, they go so slow. You be late. You be going. You need to be there by 10, and then you're late because you're struck by a bus or a tractor.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the number of times I have to give way to horses in London is pretty weird. Like, we've got so many policemen on horses. That's
Now going away from buses, because buses are just endless field of humor. Now, for people who might not know what a QI elf or the plural elves. Would you be able to explain what a QI elf/elf is?
Yeah, so they were, I think we were named back when Stephen hosted QI, he called us QI elves quite early on. And I think it was some like Wagnerian reference because he loves Wagner and operas. And it had sort of image of, we're all the researchers behind the TV show. So like we spend our whole year like reading books and magazines and websites and visiting museums and like doing interviews with interesting people, like literally anything we can do to collect interesting facts about every single subject, and then we put that into a series of QI every year. And so we are sort of the backstage people that write all the scripts and the notes for the host.
Yeah, and you were saying earlier that you're a writer. Now, when I was doing even more research about you, so I've got even more questions. I found out from your Twitter, which you were promoting it very well, and I did buy it in physical and audio version. It's the it's the brand new QI book. I have got a
professional host you are. You've actually brought. I mean, I should have brought a coffee and I didn't, and you've done it for me. Thank you so much.
for the people that are watching it, who are actually watching, not just ironing in the background whilst he's playing, because I don't know who does that, but someone must do that because it would be hilarious. I have a comedian collection of books. There where it says horrible histories, right? Behind that is a collection of comedian books, and I've got, I think, 4 QI books.
And this back row, you can't see them.
No. It's because I had too much. I had a massive box I needed to put in, and so this is the most recent one I bought. So I bought the book because then I had a physical copy and I listened to it because then I could listen to it quicker. It's quicker when you listen to it, and the audio.
Listen to a good book, right? You listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah, and the audio version is really good, and you feature in the audio version as well.
Right?
Yeah, you're in the credits. They credit you as one of the readers.
Oh yes, we did some questions. Yes,
yeah,
some of the questions. Yeah.
And now, what inspired you to write the chapter you wrote in this glorious book?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember which chapters I wrote for the first one, because we are actually, good news if you enjoyed the book, we're writing a second one.
Ooh.
And I think I wrote almost nothing for that one because I didn't have any time. I think I wrote. Did I write what is the deal with airline food?
Yeah, because you wrote the tagline on Twitter, which made me even want to buy this book even more, with the fact that you put, we've answered all the questions that 90s comedians were asking.
Well, that was I thought that was the ultimate question. The idea of this book is that it answers every single question that you sort of you may or may not have ever thought to ask, but no one's ever really answered. And sort of like, if spiders are so good at walking on the ceiling, then why can't they get out of the bath, and things like that. Like really interesting, great questions. This came out of the radio show that we do with Zoe Ball, a breakfast show on Radio 2, when we do a segment with her where we answer people's questions. But I kept meaning to write a load of questions and never had any time, and then I thought, I really want to find out what actually is the deal with airline food. So that's the perennial Seinfeld question, right? Yeah. It turns out there's a great deal. There's an awful lot of reasons why airline food is no good.
And it is like reading the book and listening to it, and it's all these facts you never expected. It's like the one that sticks into my mind the most is the fact that the Queen only started using duvets since 2016. I'm thinking, and that's enough. That's something I didn't think of knowing, and that's quite bizarre, because you wouldn't have expected the Queen thinking, "Oh, I might want to switch to a duvet; it'd be a lot warmer."
It was exactly the kind of detail you'd never know was even sort of in the public domain. But it's just a random. I guess if she's not using a duvet, she's using that sort of like sheets like you get in a sort of hotel, like an old where it's all folded in sheets, which I could never be doing with it. I find it far too much faff. But I guess if you've got a couple of footmen to tuck you in every night, she probably didn't bother that much. She didn't need a duvet.
Well, she lives in a hotel herself.
Exactly, she lives in a very big. Actually, I hear that Buckingham Palace is very drafty and falling into disrepair quite a lot. So actually, maybe she's freezing in there.
Yeah, you just see her in the corner of the room shivering. Oh no! Now, my question is one thing I've always wanted to know is, what does the Queen watch on TV? Now that's the key thing, because I really, really would find it hilarious if she does sit down and think, I'll watch an episode of QI. And
Oh,
that,
I'd love to think she watches an episode of QI.
yeah.
I'm sure she watches. I bet she watches Gogglebox. I bet she watches Gogglebox. That's what she must watch.
Well, Australian Gogglebox did a really funny joke. So there's a documentary that she made where she sat down with Prince Charles and they watched an old family video, and so they swapped it out with clips that they've used on Australian Gogglebox. So they're watching an episode of like The
There you go.
Bachelor Australia, and it's like,
So she essentially has watched. Yeah, I'm sure.
yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Now with you being this genius of full of facts that no one thinks they wanted to know, but they do. What is your favorite fact you've ever learned?
Oh gosh, and I always get asked this, and I never think of one.
Oh.
I really should start thinking about this in advance. I learned. What did I learn? I mean, I love space, and I do a lot of space facts. And I love that when you go into space, you lose 20% of your blood, because on Earth, with gravity,
Yeah.
you've got a certain amount of blood in your body, and all your blood pools down to your legs because of gravity. And when you go up into space and you live there for a while,
Yeah.
that's not happening. So your body doesn't need as much blood, and so your body stops producing it, and so you operate with 20% less blood. I find that absolutely amazing. It's not a very snappy fact, but it's wow, that's
I mean, there'll be millions of people now thinking, "Oh, I wanted to be a space person." Now, just they must be terrified. That sounds terrifying, losing a lot of blood. It's just,
yeah. It sounds like a lot of blood to lose, but it's okay because it's your body naturally. You're not losing the blood. You're just not. Your body is like your blood cells are dying all the time, and your body just replaces them, and so your body just replaces them at a slower rate, so there's less of it.
Yeah, and that's like just an incredible fact. And space in itself is an area that a lot of scientists are still trying to work out a lot more about. And the best things in the book, and especially in the audio book, is about what is aliens watching. And it's like funny how like they go back, like some of them are way behind, and they're all like, "Oh, spoilers if any aliens are listening to this."
Yes.
And that's just incredible. Now on QI, I heard somewhere that you did the klaxon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Would you be able to explain in complicated terms first, and then we'll cut it down to simple terms later on? But how does the klaxon work? How speedy is it? Because sometimes like a comedian might say something in a certain dialect, and the klaxon would try and word it in that type of way they've said it. How fast does it? How fast is that? How does it work?
So the klaxon, I'll just explain what the klaxon is for anyone who's not very familiar with QI. So QI being a panel show, it's a sort of quiz, and so the host asks questions and the panel have to answer it. And anything that, if there's an obvious wrong answer, so for example, how many wives did Henry VIII have? Now, most people learn in school that he had 6 wives, but that's actually not true. He actually had, well, either 4 wives or 2 wives, depending on what religion you subscribe to. But a couple of his wives he sort of married, but then the marriages were annulled, which technically means in church law they never existed. Technically, if you're really getting to nitty gritty, he was never married. So he was married at most 4 times and 2. So panelists might say 6, and when an obvious answer, they say an obvious answer, the klaxon goes off, and it's sort of like flashing lights and a horrible. The wrong answer comes up on the screen. And so I operate that kind of system behind the scenes, and so I have to watch the shows very closely, and I have a pair of headphones so I can hear. I've just got the panelists in my ears so I can hear what the panel are saying, because sometimes they talk at the same time, and I'm listening out for the wrong answers which I've got on my script. And every single one of those has to be pre-programmed in. We don't have the facility to type in a word live, because that's, well, A, you'd never be fast enough and you'd make spelling mistakes, and B, that's like not in the spirit of the game. The rule is that it has to be obvious enough and that we thought of it when we were writing the show. So they're all pre-programmed in, and I've got so I sort of sit in the gallery next to the vision mixer, and I've got a touchscreen which has a grid on it as a page for each question. So each question, you can have about 16 klaxons for each question.
Wow.
And so I program those all in during rehearsals, when it's just like the elves and Sandy running through all of the facts. And and then I just have to pay attention and and make sure the biggest thing I don't want to do is accidentally klaxon someone incorrectly, because then I feel like it's like I don't want to interrupt a comedian, like, you know, David Mitchell. Like, I don't want to accidentally interrupt David Mitchell, because he's obviously being David Mitchell. He's going to say something really funny all the time. So if I like step on his line, then like I've just like ruined a really good joke of his, and that's like a nightmare. So
and then that causes an issue when they come to edit it. If you've accidentally messed them, like, oh, right, we're gonna have to fix this. But with QI being so like going on for so many years, and now that I think there's a certain amount of box sets available on DVD, because I've currently only got A to, I think, B, but it might be A to C. I just can't remember.
It's quite a complicated history. There's A, B, and C were released. The old ones were released individually many years ago, and then we released. I did the box set, actually. We released a big box set of A to M, which is all of Stephen's 16 series, and they are like 4 big box sets that all look like books.
Yeah, well, I've got one of them in downstairs in my den, because my room's not big enough for all of my DVDs. So I took over what used to be called our games room to now be called the cinema room, which is full of my DVDs, because I've got box sets from anything from the 60s program Avengers all the way to QI and any others. But how did
you sound like I watched your interview with Alex Horn. It sounds like you're a real comedy old soul. You watch a lot of retro stuff.
Yeah, I say this a lot in my interviews because I think it's hilarious, but it's also funny in my own rights. I'm one of those people where if I talk to someone my own age, I always have to ask them what they're on about, because they say words that make no sense. Or they see new slang words. I feel like I'm 80 on the inside, because in my room and behind me, I've got all the old Doctor Who, all classic Who, and then new Who, and then downstairs I've got most black and white comedies. I'm trying to get all the radio shows that went with them now, because a lot of them are available on Amazon. So I've got like the Like Lads, and then Whatever Happened to the Like Lads, which was the I know too much, but how did
it's wonderful. I'm the same. I love it. I love all the old comedy and all the old TV and all the BBC stuff.
And Jerry Anderson, I've got the complete collection of the 60 Thunderbirds on DVD.
So do I. I've like literally, you can see I've got my stuff up there. I've got an awful lot of Thunderbird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. But with the original QI, where they didn't have the electronic klaxon, he had all the cards. How did that work? Because that seemed a lot more complicated.
That was really, really old days, and that was before my time. So I think it was only the first Cup series or so. I think Stephen was also given the klaxon answers written down on cards, so that he could prove that we thought of them beforehand. But it was just very clunky, because you don't want Stephen having to rifle through all the cards to find it. It doesn't really prove anything. It's not very good television. And once people are used to the idea of the klaxon, you can get rid of that. But for years, up until I started, which was I think it must have been series N or something. We've been doing it for a few years now. Before I became klaxon person, it didn't used to be any one person. It used to be a separated system where if somebody said, the wrong answer, like 6, the director would shout, you go down the list on the script and find out what number the klaxon was, and he'd be like 24, and the people in the klaxon booth who did the images, for the show, like the pictures that come up on the show, they also had that. So they would hit 24 and the screens would flash. And in the sound booth, somebody would press the sound button and the sound would go off. And in the lighting booth, someone would press the lighting button and the light back. So it was all separated and not very synced up and very messy, and often took a long time. And so when I started, we developed a system, or Lumina developed a system, of people who do the buzzers and everything, that was a simple touch system where it's all automatic and everything happens at once.
Yeah, so it's quicker. But there's I think it's on YouTube, but my brain just goes everywhere because there's so many panel show clips on YouTube. But there's a clip of Joe Lycett where they changed the font of the klaxon, if you remember that. How did that work? Because as you say in the pre-program, that must have been.
These are very in-depth questions, Tom, and I love that you're asking them, because I thought I was the only person in the world who's interested in this. So we did that before one of the shows, and it was just an idea I had because we were trying to make that series, we were trying to just like make little social media stuff, and we have so little time in the studio. There's no time to get people in, before the show or something. The only time is when they come on set and we haven't rolled the theme tune yet, and they're just sort of miking up and getting ready. And often, like, they're all the panel are really fired up and having fun anyway, and so it's quite nice to say, hey, it's your 100th episode today, and give them a fact, or just do something that kind of will generate a couple of minutes of like fun behind the scenes content for people. And I think in the previous that day, Joe recorded 2 episodes, one in the afternoon, one in the evening, and in the afternoon he said something about not liking the klaxon font as a joke, and so I thought, well, I'll change it for him before the show so that he gets another font, and then it'll be a nice clip. And I did that it was a fudge. I set the klaxon off for him, but I switched off the klaxon picture.
Oh yeah.
And I gave our picture people, like people who queue videos, like if you want to watch a video or whatever, they're the people they're called EVS, that department. And I said, can you play this flashing klaxon video? So it was a fake klaxon, actually. Yeah. What an in-depth question. I can't believe I've ever had to explain that to someone.
Now the next question, which you'll love even more, is what's your favorite font type?
Oh, that is a great question. You know what I'm going through? I'm quite a boring person, really, but like at the moment, I'm like Avenir, loving Avenir. It's a classic. It's available everywhere. It's tidy. It's clean. It comes in a lot of different styles. I'm a big fan of. I don't know if you know a band called Wolfpack. They're quite a kind of like weird.
They sound heavy metal.
They're not actually. They're like kind of like funk, but they're super nerds.
Yeah,
I think they're like quite comedy nerds as well. But they're like massive music nerds. But also they've made their own font called Wolf Sans, which is Wolf, something like that. Something, which is a great font, and you should check that out because it's a great font.
Well, in recent years I've loved fonts because I run. Funnily enough, it's probably my addiction to fonts that made me do this, but I run 8 YouTube channels and 8.
Gosh, wow.
I used to have 9, but then I didn't upload in one of them, so I thought I'll just delete that one. So
are you in school? How do you have time for this?
Well, I'm in college, right? And last year, there's from I think that we finished on the 27th of May, so I've had 3 months off. And before that, I was already ahead of everyone. So the teachers were scared of giving me work because I was finished the course before anyone else. So I was always like, so we were listening to the teacher do some whilst I was editing the video. I was finished. And I deliberately stopped what I was doing, so I had something to do in the next lesson. And so I made 8 YouTube channels. I'll list them off because I love doing this. So my main channel is Tom Mason, which is all to do with Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is the greatest TV show of all time. I have a different list of panel shows. My second channel is The Who Gamer, which is for gaming, not just video games, as in the term games, such as like darts or board games or card games. Nice. So it's not. So I'm like changing the system in the gaming world because I'm not taking
all the boundaries. Nice.
Yeah. My third channel, which is the channel this video's on, is for anything from DVDs, VHSs, cassettes, vinyls, TV shows, interviews, podcasts, whatever I feel like uploading, I upload. And then the next channel, which I think is called Online Taskmaster, which is my own tasks I've created.
Oh, cool.
The next channel...
we did a Taskmaster party a couple of years ago. James Harkin, one of the shelves, had a party it was a house in like the Lake District or Peak District, and we arrived and they set up the whole house. And he and his wife had like come up with all these crazy tasks.
Yeah,
I've done 2 of them actually, 2 of these parties, and like they're so good. One of them was make a face, like what was it? Make the face on a plate using stuff from around the house and things like that. It was so good.
I love the musical tasks because when I do these tasks, they're just amazing. But I showed Alex Horn all the tasks I've made, so I have a folder. Which you can't see on the screen, but I've got a folder. It's like overflowing with them all. So I've filmed them like 15 in a bunch and then upload them all. The next channel is called, I think it's What's on BritBox, which is about me streaming series BritBox, which, if you do not know, but it's ITV own most of it. So let's not go there with the BBC remote. QI, some of the series are available on BritBox, so you better watch it. And then I have Tom's Comedy Club, which is where I do comedy videos. So I'm currently doing a web series on there called The Misadventures of Albert Flowerpot. So it's a sitcom about a bloke called Albert Flowerpot that wants to get back on TV, and he has issues, and he's not very good at his job. So the first episode, I filmed it, but forgot to turn the mic on, so I had to make a gag where he did a voiceover because I'm not very good.
Just a little bit sort of inspired by real life there.
Yeah. And then the next channel number 7 is TGen Productions, which is my production company, which isn't officially in the official production company, but it is a production company that looks after. It's me running my own channels. I just wanted to make something official. And then my final channel is Taskmaster World, which is my most popular channel, which is where I talk about all the international versions of Taskmaster, because there's loads of international versions. And really, funnily enough, at the very end of the videos, I got Alex Horn to say for me, subscribe to Taskmaster World. So I have him at the end of the videos.
Oh, it must have been such a privilege to interview him,
Yeah.
the creator of it all.
Yeah.
Taskmaster channels, that's amazing.
Yeah, and he's seen my online Taskmaster and Taskmaster World. But what's really interesting, that I also interviewed Richard Herring.
Oh yeah.
As well. And what's really interesting in that is because I asked him how heavy the Taskmaster trophy, it gives me an excuse to use that clip in a Taskmaster World video, so more people will watch my Richard Herring interview, because my Taskmaster World is very soon will be monetized, because that'll be my first channel ever to get money, so I'll be rolling in it.
Oh, you get your millions. Yeah.
I'll be like Scrooge McDuck, swimming in the coin barrel.
A nice big exciting production company headquarters in a huge building.
Yeah, because my room's been renamed Studio, because I've got an Amazon Echo that I renamed Studio, because it's where I film all my stuff. But moving on from my 8 YouTube channels, tomorrow on going on to the podcast No Such Thing as a Fish. Now, do you know how that all began? Because for me, when you hear about it, you don't think, oh, they're linked to QI. You think about that afterwards, because it sounds like they've had an uprising and thought, we want our own program, we're not recognised enough. Let's get out up in the ladders.
It wasn't quite that, but it kind of was a bit like that in because I was around there at the beginning. I was sort of at university at the time, but was working part time for QI, and it all came about because I think James and Dan. Well, we were always in the office, and we're always sort of saying, "Oh my gosh, did you know that? I can't even think of a fact, but if you did you know if you put enough pressure on peanut butter, you can turn it into diamonds?" And you're always finding this stuff, and then you end up having an amazing conversation about it. And it's just like the QI office is the best place to just sit and have a great chat. And we were chatting too much because we have to sit and work, and we've got a lot to do, and it's very difficult. And you
didn't get work, can you?
To shut up about it. You really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so the 4 podcasters started getting around the microphone, just trying to record that chat to see if anything could be made into it, to turn it into a show. And it evolved really kind of quite naturally. And I don't think anyone expected it to be sort of the huge success that it has.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. But yeah, that was it's like 7 years ago now.
Wow.
March 2014. So I mean, yeah,
it's a global phenomenon.
It really is. Yeah. No, we just, as I said earlier, like we're making some stuff for the live tour, which sort of looks back at the beginning of Fish a bit, and so I've been going through all the archives and everything. Yeah, it's quite an amazing journey to have been on. Yeah.
Now, one of my favourite bits of it, not just the fact that it's full of interesting facts and it what it's set out to be funny, is I love the intro, because I also do music production, not very well, but I do it to the best of my ability. And do you know how that got made or anything? Do you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
I would love to know, because it's because I've got a new podcast coming out, and I'm looking at intros of other podcasts and learning how do I make it sound interesting and not like I've just used Logic or whatever to add these pre-made sounds.
Well, so the theme tune itself is just a professionally produced piece of music that was made by Ash Gardner, who is originally a friend of Dan's, who grew up with Dan, but he's a friend of the podcast now. He's a great guy, and he has a band called Emperor Yes.
Yeah.
And the piece is called Wasps, the song that we use. It's a great song, and I've heard it many, many times, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And they're a really great band. You should check them out. And so, I mean, he's the best person to ask how the actual music was made, because yeah, it's quite like a digital kind of like
Yeah.
kind of like piece. It's great, and I have no idea how he's done all of that. But it also comes with a great music video, which actually features Dan from years before the podcast.
Wow.
It's worth checking out as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, so like the very beginning of the podcast, there was James, and like there's a bit where James says, "Oh yeah, it's no such thing as a fish," and that was just from the first episode. And I think it sounds like it's been put through some cool filter, but it hasn't been. It's just because we recorded such terrible quality episodes in the early days. So that's it, really. It was pretty simple. It was just a bit of us talking and a bit of music smashed.
Yeah. Now that I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was 2016 that the podcast has been incredible. And how did the BBC get involved to say, right, we're fed up of listening to this. We want to see this now. We want to make it more relevant, and you can do it on a weekly basis. There's no such thing as the news.
Yeah, Nursing is Used is really interesting. So John Lloyd, who invented QI, who I can't believe it's taken me this long to mention him. He's the god level comedy producer. Everyone has heard.
Have I got news for you?
Yeah, Spitting Image, 9 o'clock news, Blackadder,
News quiz.
So much, like every single big long running show.
Yeah, he's a nightmare to get hold of as well. Trying to interview him, it's like chasing after Jerry and Tom and Jerry.
Oh, he's very elusive. Yeah, no, a phenomenally busy guy. So yeah, he's the guy who started it all, and he was I think he was the one who sort of started it off, because he talked to the then head of news, and they were chatting in the pub or something about how there needs to be this sort of something on TV that's about the really interesting stuff, and not every single bit of the news has to be sort of serious, important stuff. We have enough of that. It's really important that exists, but like we have enough of that. So the idea to turn the podcast into news and just make it more topical. It's just a fish, just a podcast, but it's about the stuff that's happened that week.
Yeah.
And it was recorded, but the way it was made was that it was such a tiny budget for a show, and it was made. We have a production kind of a head of production who works for QI called Untitled Chapter, who is this magician when it comes to making things happen with no money, and she produces shows out of nothing. I mean, literally, that show, we recorded it at Up the Creek Comedy Club in Greenwich, and she was bringing bits of wood from her garden to like prop bits of the set up and stuff. I mean, like that's how involved you had to be to make a show like that.
She'll have no offence. The neighbours will be able to walk in and go, right, I'm pinching that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, I'm sure she has no fence left.
No such thing as a fence.
She's wonderful, and the whole team was amazing. So, and the money just literally, went towards the cameras and the editors. And so what would happen was we'd write the show sort of through the week. And at the time, I had a tiny flat really close to the office, and Dan and I would. Everyone would go off and do their own research, and I would do some work with Dan as well, and we'd sort of work out all the different bits of the show were going to be, if they were going to have a special segment. And I did also all the graphics, so like like as in any pictures that were in the show and things like that. A bit like QI graphics, like on screens. And so we worked for that sort of Monday to Thursday, and I think we recorded on a Thursday night at about sort of 7. The show finished at about sort of 10, the show recordings. And by that point, I would already been awake since 7 o'clock that morning. And then I would get in a cab with Dan and a briefcase which contained the show, like all the hard drives. And we would take a taxi from Greenwich to Soho, which would take forever. Because it was
We've got the briefcase.
We got it. Terrified. I was like, we're going to lose this briefcase, because then we'd usually we get to Soho and it gets so busy that I'd have to jump out. We'd just be like, we'll just walk the rest of the way, and so you'd be walking through Party Night Central in Soho with a briefcase that I was absolutely terrified I was going to lose. And we went, and the editors were in Soho, and then we give them the briefcase and they load in the show, and then Dan and I would sit and edit. And I was one of the editors of the show as well, because we had that amount of money. I was doing like 5 different jobs. And I was the offline editor, which is like when you sort of do the rough cut.
Yeah.
And we then stayed up all night and edited from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. the next morning. And then handed it over to Natasha.
You must have been tired.
Well, fortunately, because we have this flat really close by, we would literally just both go and just sleep in my flat until about 2 p.m. And then we go back and see how the next set of editors have got on, and continue to work on it until the show would be edited right up until the hour before broadcast, and then last minute. It was really on the wire. So very, very stressful and very sort of scraping together anything you could do, but so much fun.
It was a fantastic program, and the good news for the viewers, if you've never seen it, I think it's series 1 and 2 are now available on the QI spin-off YouTube channel. Quite interesting, which you didn't know. That's what QI stands for. Quite interesting. Now, I loved noticing the news. One of the weirdest facts I think was ever on it was the fact that they banned whistles in schools, and this one woman had a hand-carved whistle.
I don't remember that fact at all. Tell me.
It was on. I think it was on like series 1, episode 4 or something. It was on one of the earlier episodes. I was rewatching them the other day because, for no apparent reason, they popped up in my recommendation.
Oh yeah, probably because you've been watching every video on YouTube that's to do with QI facts and comedy.
Yeah, I mean, every day I've got a private playlist because this YouTube channel and my YouTube's overall are family friendly, so all the sweariness and stuff I keep to myself. So I have a private playlist called Panel Shows, and I think I've got like nearly 3,000 videos on there. They're all like Australian panel shows like Spicks and Specks. They're all panel shows from around the Swedish version of Taskmaster, QI, and then anything I could think there was a panel show. So one of the 7 days, which is Mock the Week, but just just New Zealand.
And you come across any international versions of QI? There's a few floating around out there.
Is there?
Well, yeah. There was a Swedish one that ran for a few series that was called Intresseklubben, which means the interesting club.
I really need.
There was a Dutch version. I don't think that lasted very long, but there was a Dutch version out there.
Yeah.
And then various pilots have been filmed as well.
Wow.
It's there's a bit around. Yeah.
I need to investigate that because I made a video on this channel where I'm learning a selection of languages, Swedish, Danish, Welsh, German, Norwegian, and half of them, apart from Welsh, because Welsh, I was watching Stella and Ruth Jones, so I just thought, why not learn Welsh? Half of them were to watch different TV shows. So the Greg Davis is doing a sitcom called Cleaner. I interviewed the comedy producer for it, and it's a remake of the German program. And so I'm learning German to watch the German program, Swedish, so I can watch the Swedish version of Taskmaster, Norwegian to watch the Norwegian version, and then Danish to watch the Danish version of Taskmaster.
That's incredible. That's amazing. And you learned them well enough to understand what's going on in the shows? And
no. It's one of those things. I can't even speak proper English. Apparently, I'm not really good at even speaking English. So it's like I'm using Duolingo, which sometimes doesn't always work. And one of my viewers from Taskmaster World even said Duolingo's horrible for him because he's German, trying to learn Norwegian, but he's learning Norwegian and he's converting it into English. So he's giving you the English version. He's German, and it's a nightmare for him. And it's like, I want to watch. So I uploaded clips from the Norwegian version of Taskmaster, but some of them have been copyrighted because of the copyright system, and because the subtitles just weren't working for me. You have to work out why contestants have got carrots on a desk. You have to, and it's the whole thing.
I feel like it's quite disorientating show to watch when you're trying to learn a language. There's never going to be anything that makes any sense.
Yeah,
narrative. You can't make any guesswork.
Yeah, but all four has something called Walters Presents, where that has loads of shows from the Netherlands and as versions that you didn't know existed of programs that have never been made in Britain, like Professor T was from Belgium originally before it came to the UK. and so
love that. I love learning about all the international versions of things. It's interesting to see what things and how they change. And...
that's what I love. And I made Taskmaster World because I had an inspiration from the YouTube channel MasterChef World, which is every international version of MasterChef. Going from all the way to like New Zealand, India, Canada, and Zimbabwe. They'll be cooking Zimbabwe food. But going back to QI, how did you get the job at QI? That's the key question to ask.
It was a very long time ago now. I had not long left school, and I had done a couple of. I came to London on a sort of like I took a year out before I went to university. I came to London to earn some money, and I'd done almost nothing. I mean, I'd worked for, so I did like a day or something on the Daily Politics, which was a political show, and then I'd worked for a TV academic historian called Bettany Hughes, who is she presents a lot of history documentaries and is a fantastic TV historian, and so I was working for her. And then I think I'd written in for years from school. I'd written into QI back when it was a tiny organisation and was really not much more than the TV show and the book. And it didn't have an office or anything. It was all based in Oxford. And they had all the email addresses on the website. And I used to write in every year to my now boss, Sarah, who's married to John, and Sarah runs the company. And I said, please, can I have work experience at QI? And I'd written to her since I was, year 9 or something. And she'd always says, like, no, we don't have an office. You're a child.
Leave me alone now. I'm fed up with you.
It's very persistent. And then the year that I was up in London was the year that they moved up to London as well and opened an office. And so had room for an intern. They said, come and do a little internship. And my first ever day was in the studios, actually. And it was an episode of Series J. I can't remember what episode it would have been, but I still have my little badge that says Apprentice Elf on it. And I do remember Justin Bieber was in the studio as well that day, not on QI, he was somewhere else. And I knew that because the entire studio was surrounded by a wall of screaming girls. You could hear it wherever you went in the building. It was the weirdest day. It was absolutely mad, and they were screaming.
You probably felt a little bit sad that they weren't there for you.
Exactly. Yeah. It was honestly the weirdest day, and then I basically just stuck around. I went from sort of internship to apprentice elf, and then a researcher, and then now I'm an AP on the show, and I just sort of do. So I started off as an intern, and then went into apprentice elfing and then researching on the TV show, and now I did sort of graphic design, and then I did editing, and now I just do all sorts, and it's the best job in the world. I love it. I'll never leave.
Well, you appeared. So I'm also on IMDb for my Misadventures of Albert Thorpe, and so are you. You're also on IMDb. Yeah.
Oh my god.
You're in it for like for. It's like just minor things like you direct.
QI. Yes, I am. I'm in it occasionally. Yeah, not as a panelist, but just like I pop up.
You're in an episode. I think it was in. It's either J or L. I just can't remember because those letters just look so similar when you see them written down. You're in it and you talking. You made. I don't know whether it was you alone that you made a like a mini fish tank for a fish, and you watch the fish go woo, 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 and you watch the fish have of a whale of its time. It's like the best thing it's ever done. But it does scare me that if you can do that with a fish, it's going to grow legs and start attacking us. These goldfish. The World War III.
Well, it was a remote control fish tank. Yeah, so it was like a little fish tank, and it had little light sensors. And I did build it. I built it out of Lego. Lego Technic, and whichever corner the fish swam into, the light sensors picked it up and drove the tank in that direction. So the fish deciding where to go, as it were. And so obviously not something to keep a fish in. It was just something to give the fish a little ride.
It was temporarily.
Exactly.
No fishes were harmed in the making of it.
Certainly not. I mean, he's still alive. He's all these years later. He is the oldest goldfish ever. He's upstairs right now, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
What's he called?
Well, we called him Alan. He didn't really have a name before the show, and so we decided to call him Alan.
Yeah. just because. How long is the memory of a fish? Because I've heard different things. Do you know what? How long?
It's longer than 2 seconds. Because you can train fish. I mean, it depends because memory is a weird thing. It's not.
Yeah.
You can't just. Your memories don't have like a time to them. It depends what kind of memory it is, whether it's a short term or a long term, and what stimulates those memories. And memories evolve and change all the time. And obviously, it's very difficult to study them. But it is definitely possible to train fish. You can train fish to recognize lights, colored lights, because if you have a red light and a green light, and you always feed them at the green light, then they will always swim towards the green light before you put the food in, because they know that's where the food's going to be. And even if you switch them around, move them around, the fish will always find the green light. So it does show they shows that you can give them long-term memories and associations and things. And they've done some amazing experiments.
Wow.
Fish and memory.
So is training a fish like training a dog? So you could train a fish to jump through a hoop, like you could train a dog?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe it depends on the fish. I'm not sure, because there are plenty of animals you can train to do that. But I'd say if you throw a stick for a fish, it's not gonna get it.
Well, you could probably get one of those bubble things, massive bubble machines where as you showing the fish up through it, you do it so that the fish then lands in like a bubble. It might
bubble full of and then
it might fly away.
You've been watching too many Disney films.
Right. No, I don't think that's ever happened in a Disney film. A goldfish just like fly away in a bubble.
No, maybe not.
That's more of a nightmare. That'll be a worse nightmare. You wake up and you realize, I've got 2 dogs, and only one of them's trained, because the other one, there was no point in training the other one. Just walks around peeing everywhere now.
Oh no!
It's just wherever he's standing, he thinks, no, I can't be bothered to get out the door. I'll just have a wee here. He doesn't even cock his leg up anymore like dogs do. He just stands there and you just wheeze. And you're like, oh, I've just stepped in that wee now. Oh, I'm going to have to clean that up. Well, I don't clear it up. Other people do. But I don't think I would be a very good fish handler, because you have to feed the fish. And I would forget to feed the fish. And you'll just see the fish just one day you'll be able to cook it up and make fish fingers out of it. Well, can you eat goldfish?
My flatmate Jack, who also works for QI, is who feeds it, because he's much more organised and remembers to do it every day. So there we go.
Can you eat fish? Do you know? Not like goldfish, like goldfish.
I presume you can. I don't know if it tastes very nice, but I'm sure. I don't think it's poisonous or anything.
No, because it'd be a waste to flush it down the toilet once it's died.
Oh, I could never eat. That's a horrible thought. I could never flush him down the toilet or eat him. He would. No. But he's clearly going to live forever. I mean, he's already so old. He's like 14 or something.
Wow. Now, in your background on your video, you've got a sign of the London Underground.
Yes.
What is your favourite London Underground fact, if you've got one?
More of the London Underground is overground than underground. It's a mistake.
Wow.
Because it's been extended so much. That changes though. I don't know whether that's still true because of the Elizabeth line. On one of the stations, is it Whitechapel or maybe it's Blackfriars? I think it must be Whitechapel. The underground is overground and the overground is underground.
Wow. So is the New York subway similar to the London Underground, or is it different?
I think it's interesting. I think there are similarities and differences, but I think they're run quite differently. I know that I feel like the subway is notorious for not running as well as the London Underground, but I think nearly all of the subway was done via cut and cover, right? Where you instead of digging a tunnel underground, you just dig a massive trench and you have to demolish any buildings that are in your way, and then you build the underground station, and then you the line, and then you just put a ceiling / road on top of it. And only the very old London Underground lines were done that way. And there's a great house you can go to in London, which people may know of nowadays. It's much more well known, but it's I think it's 22 Leinster Gardens in West London, and it's a street with a row of very nice terraced houses, all sort of gleaming white houses. But 2 of them, if you look closely, the windows aren't really real, and then if you look a bit closer, it doesn't have any sense of life, and it's because they demolished those 2 houses so that they could build a London Underground line through it. And then, in order to make sure the street didn't look awful, they just put fake frontages back up, so it's just a facade. And there's nothing in. There's nothing behind it. If you look at it on Google Maps, there's just a hole, and then you can see a tube line going underneath it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wow. I never knew that.
Well, I tell you what, I give a shout out for my friend Tim Dunn, who
Yeah.
he's made a TV series about the secrets of London Underground, which I think is on Gold, and I think it's doing a second series now, and it's really good. It's literally just full of these amazing facts, and the London Underground
Wow.
is the best place. I've been to quite a lot of the closed stations and the kind of bits you can't get
Yeah.
to and stuff, and just have a look around, and you just learn so many facts, and it's all so interesting and just
Wow.
fascinating. Yeah.
It's what I like to call quite interesting.
It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
You see how this name came about?
Now, a question that I've always wanted to know, and I've sort of assumed how it happened. So when Stephen Fry retired, or he stepped down, whatever his position was, how did you decide to get Sandy Toxer again? Because I always think that she was always the cleverest every time she was on it.
It was the easiest thing in the world. It was no question. Stephen would made decisions to step down because he'd done it for so long, and we're halfway through the alphabets. We were like, this is the perfect time for a handover. We were just like, oh, who would be great? Sandy would be great. And so John just rang up Sandy and says, Sandy, would you like to do Q? And she was like, yes, before he did and then we got her. And so because I mean, Stephen Fry is a difficult act to follow, isn't it? I mean, he's, national treasure. And so I feel like Sandy I can't imagine anyone else having followed that act. I mean, only Sandy could have done that.
Yeah, she's because I think when I was old enough to watch QI, which was, I've got to say now, a few years ago now, because I'm only 17, so it was a few years ago. I'm one of those.
17. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I don't believe it myself sometimes. I wake up some days and I'm a time traveling or something. But I watched it and I spent because it's on Netflix. Now a whole Wrath catalog was on Netflix, and then they just went, nope, we're removing that, and that, and it's driving me up the wall sometimes. And I spent a whole summer watching it, and I spent I don't go outside very often because the outside world didn't have anyone. I don't have many friends. I'll admit this. I don't have many friends.
It's got no TV. There's no TV outside.
No, and I am obsessed with TV to the point where my parents are fed up with me talking about TV. And I'm so glad every time I do an interview because I'm away from them for so many times, talking to someone else and not them. And what was interesting was every time Sandy Toxic was on it, she was always the cleverest on the panel. So I always thought she was on it just because of the fact that she was really clever. And who else? Because Stephen Fry since leaving QI has done a lot, and he did BritBox original called something about wine. He did a whole wine documentary series where he spoke to a French person saying, why is French wine better than English wine? Because there's apparently a difference, but I don't drink alcohol and I never will do because wine just looks like wine.
I'm not much of a wine fan either.
Yeah, but what's the difference with working with Stephen to work with Sandy? Is it easier to work with Sandy because Sandy and Stephen are more clever? Did he not need because they've got cards in front of them? Did they not need the cards a lot? Because they're clever people themselves.
We work more closely with Sandy, so they're both wonderful to work with.
Yeah.
I love them both. Stephen was we would write up all the cards and write up all the scripts, and he would just pick them up on his way into the studio and take them into his dressing room and do whatever it was. I don't know what he did, but he just assimilated them. I think he ate them, and then he would come out and perform the show as if he was saying all this stuff off the top of his head. I mean, it's just proper pro hosting. He just and made it sound like he'd sort of written it all and sort of which is exactly what you want a host to do. You want to make it seem like the cleverest one. And obviously they both know a phenomenal amount, and so they're always peppering in their own stuff with it. But what we do is we find out all these facts, we frame them in questions, we double check them, research them, and kind of so it's ours is always very kind of try and be as watertight as possible. And Sandy has the same bank of knowledge, but is much more involved in writing the scripts and coming up with kind of ideas for questions. And so we'll write a draft of the script, and then we'll send that to her and she'll do a
Yeah.
pass on it, and then we'll have meetings where we kind of run through it all until she comes to some of the research meetings, which is really nice. And it's like it's
Yeah.
great to have that kind of, because she's so passionate about QI. It's really great that she's like it's QI is, I'd like to think it's a real BBC show that it educates and it entertains and
Yeah.
does all those things.
It's what the
And
BBC want.
and there are not a lot of shows that do all three. I think it's quite a rare thing,
Yeah.
and a good thing. And Sandy's really passionate about that, about making people laugh and entertaining people, and making people have fun, but also educating people and giving them access to that knowledge in a really accessible way. And so she's kind of really involved in that, which is great.
Yeah. Now there's a definite difference between Stephen and Sandy. Was it how does, because when I watched QI for so long and then she went on to Bake Off, still doing QI, but she was on Bake Off. And how did you make her look so tall? I didn't realize she was so small until she went on to Bake Off. How did you make her so tall?
I tell you what, she got a new chair.
Yeah.
Stephen had a chair that was one height, and she has a chair that's another height.
Yeah.
But and a pillow as well.
Does they have like cushions? Did she say on like 4 different cushions?
There is a cushion. For years, I don't know why, for ages, there was a cushion hanging around the studio with Paul O'Grady's face on it, which Sandy sat on for years, because we'd always forget to have a cushion, and then that was the one that was around. So about 3 series of QI were filmed with Paul O'Grady's face. So that's Sandy. As a behind-the-scenes fact sheet, though.
Wow.
No, it's quite a different. Like I mean, I think it's the perfect amount of continuity between hosts, but also Sandy's made it her own show.
Yeah,
I really like that. You don't want somebody just like doing a Stephen act.
No, and it's like with Doctor Who. You watch one Doctor, then then they regenerate to someone else, and you don't want them to copy what a previous Doctor did. And
done a regeneration scene. That would have been great.
Oh, that would have.
We should have done that. Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, for my 30th birthday, I got all the Adobe suite, and the first thing I did was the day before I did a video called Goodbye 12, where I did the thing where you're about to regenerate, and then I did Hello 13, where I did regenerate, and I edited it, and I need to get this out before the end of my birthday. Quickly. and it looked good, but sadly I've forgotten how to do it. And sadly, it was too short, so it wasn't as impressive as because continuity issue. Had the lights on in one and then not in the other. But I think it's just QI is one of those that I wish would never end. And this might sound really bleak and really sad, but how long do you reckon QI will last for? Where do you reckon QI will end?
There's always sort of an end in sight, isn't there? Because we do a letter a series, and we're currently up to we're editing S, so S is going to go out soon. And that's sort of the final stretch of letters. We've got T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So that's 7 series left. So before we get to the end of the alphabet, but that's one milestone. Who knows whether we'll end then? I like to think. I mean, John always says that we'll continue on the numbers. And so we'll start doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I think will be very confusing if Series 27 is also Series 1 and Series 28 is also Series 2. But I mean, the thing is that it's like it's like have I got news for you or the news or whatever. The news is never going to run out, so there's no reason for the show to stop as long as you continually make sure the people on it are up for it, and you also make sure that you don't get tired, and you make sure that everyone writing the show and working on the show is kind of keeping it fresh. So the format is kind of timeless, because we're never going to run out of facts, which is really exciting.
But I think what you were saying about the numbers, I think there's sort of a slight issue with the numbers bit, is that some places you look online, they use numbers rather than the letters. So some people say that Series 19, which I think is Series L, I'm not 100% sure, but they use the 19 instead of the letter, which sort of sometimes.
Well, you don't know the half of it, because Series G was actually technically 2 series because of a production thing. They split it into 2, so that was A, B, C, D, E, F. It was Series 7 and Series 8 was on G. So the production numbers, which our production company uses, don't even line up to the letters. It's a nightmare. I like to use the letters, it's very clear, and you can always look on and watch the episode and be like, what letter are they talking about?
Yeah. Now QI isn't just QI and then it's many things of it's non-QI but still QI related stuff. But how did QISXS come about? Because QIXL, which is what Netflix run off, is QI extra long. But how did QI XS come around? Because that's only 5. I think it's either 5 or 15 minutes.
Yes, it was. We basically have this little studio in our office on one of the floors in Covent Garden, and we wanted to use it, and we thought, oh, we'll just make a web series, and we just gathered together some. We just finished recording. What series was it? It was a couple of series ago now. We just finished recording a series, and then we just thought, oh, well, we'll just sit around the table and chat about some of the stuff we didn't get to talk about in the show because there's some tough questions, and just have some fun. And so it was quite a sort of casually made thing, but it was just sort of for fun and just to have a go at doing some YouTube videos and a series of our own. And it was XS because A, it's extra small, and B, it's the excess material. So a real pun going on there. Like it was literally just elves chatting about the material that we cut or experiments we didn't get to do, and we were just messing around a bit. It was really good fun, actually. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Now, one thing that really intrigues me of how, when it came. So, how come that there's 2 different YouTube channels? So you've got QI, then quite interesting. How come it's 2 separate? Is that because?
I mean, it's a quite a boring kind of production thing. It's because of advertising revenue that the QI official kind of TV channel is clips of QI.
Yeah.
And that's run jointly by us and Fremantle, who are the company that make QI with us. The other one is the Quite Interesting channel, and it's everything that we, QI Limited, make that's not QI. It's everything else. So
it's like
notions of fish, notions of the news, any short videos like QIXS we put there because it's about QI, but it's not QI. So that is our official company channel, and that's just ours.
Yeah, and you now, one of the things that people won't know what it is what's a senior creative, because it says on a really interesting biography page on the QI website of a fabulous image of you with news with a film saying that you're a senior creative. So for the viewers at home that might not know what a senior creative is, would you be able to enlighten them on what this is?
I don't even know what it is. I mean, it's a title that, because I just do a lot of different things at QI, and I don't really fit into any of the normal
Jack of all trades.
And I needed a job title that sounded serious enough that I could put it at the bottom of emails. When I email people, they don't think I'm 12 years old and not really working for QI. So I needed something that made me sound like and so we settled on senior creative because I'm like, well, that's what I do. I'm quite senior and I do all the creative stuff. So.
Yeah, you just thought, I'll put that on. Now, one thing that I would love to know. Now I do a lot of graphic design stuff, and Photoshop is
on top of everything else. Honestly, where do you find the time?
This is the question. I don't know, because I wake up every morning at 6. I get everything done, and I spend the rest of the day watching TV.
No.
So I somehow have all the time in the world to do everything manly possible, and then because it's so bizarre, but I do me and Photoshop are like best friends. Sometimes I hate Photoshop when a background of an image is so complicated, it's horrendous to get rid of. But you did a lot of the logo type cover arts for No Such Thing as a Fish. Now, where did your creative idea come from to do it how it is? Because it look incredible.
I'll show you. I will hang on a second. My book, which I don't know if you recognize this show.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's a BBC book.
And
it's a book of, I think it was made in the 60s, and it's a book that was about a TV show called That Was the Week That Was, which is was a 1962 one of the first kind of
panel show.
First sort of comedy satire shows. It's a bit of a panel show. It's a bit of a news show.
Yeah.
And it changed the game and broke the mold and stuff like that never been seen on television before. It was presented by Frost and had a whole host of people on it. And it's kind of like, I mean, it was the precursor to SNL. It's the precursor to everything, but it was this sort of late night comedy topical thing. And it was absolutely mad. And I'm a bit obsessed with it. And so I have a lot of memorabilia. And I bought this a couple of weeks before, and it was sitting on my desk at QI when Dan said that we need a logo for Fish, and Fish had happened so shambolically. We hadn't really intended to release it, and we didn't really know what we were doing, and we released the first bit without web logo, and so we were like, we need to do smart work. And so I just threw together what is, I mean, I don't have a fish, maybe I do have a fish on here.
Yeah.
There you go. side by side.
Wow.
I mean, it's a total rip-off.
Well, it just looks incredible, and doing like graphic design is so hard, and so did you like use that as inspiration?
Yeah, it was just inspiration really, because then well, I mean, it's a coincidence that the theme tune is called Wasps and it's the wasp coloring, but we messed around. We did quite a few different types, and then we just picked on that, and I picked on it because it was simple and it was quite jazzy, and I like went through a lot of fonts, and I was like, I want something that looks sort of quite like I always love. I did like the QI logo was designed many years before I joined, but I love the QI logo because it's a bit fun and a bit silly, but also quite serious and trustworthy. And it's like really, really good kind of, it can be on a quite serious document, but it can also be a really fun kind of thing that sells something. And so I quite like Fish because it's a little bit wacky and it's a little bit sort of like, jazzy, and it's weird and it's kind of funky. But,
It's unique.
But it's also quite blocky and heavy and kind of way. So that's what we were trying going for. I mean, I don't know if it's actually successful. That's how I kind of. And then every single episode of QI has its own thumbnail, which is quite a lot of work to do actually. For it's not many episodes, like not many podcasts or shows do that, but we designed it so that I designed it so the logo was at one side and the episode was the other side, the episode number, and it just had a hole, and so all you had to do is fill the hole with stuff. So if I have a good day, I can have some real fun with it and put lots of things in it. And if I'm really busy that week, I will just like plonk an image in.
And now, because you were just showing me the no such thing as a fish. Now, where is it available physically? Because that looked like a vinyl to me.
This thing, yes, it is a vinyl. Yes, this is actually a special edition vinyl with bright yellow. You can go to nosuchthingAsafish.com. And there is a selection of all our merchandise there, and you can click on the vinyl and it will take you to where you can buy it. I don't know whether the special edition ones are available. They might just be black vinyls, but they're pretty cool.
Well, if I find that exact one, there should be a link in the description, and I might do an unboxing of it because I desperately want that now because that does look incredible.
Jack, I will. Sorry, Jack. Tom. I will send you one.
Thank you.
I'll get one signed and I'll send it to you.
Thank you. Now, because you were on about graphic design, and I would love to show you something I had made because it's not the best quality because I just had to download it just then, but it's one of the things that made me giggle. So it makes me laugh. So I wear this suit on pretty much anything I do now, and there's a photo of me wearing a suit, but my head's chopped off when you do it, right? So I had to add a top hat to it, and this is for my logo for my podcast Taskmaster World. I'll show you if you can see it. Hang on. Right.
Oh, it's a little bit bright. You might have to put it towards the camera.
So this is it.
Nice.
Now it's based off what the official Taskmaster one does, and it is really it was really interesting to do because when I have guests on the podcast, so I interviewed the Taskmaster New Zealand writer for the show because he got in contact with me through my YouTube channel. I just swapped the other one of me out to a photo of him drinking British tea because he thought why not? And it's really interesting because I'll let my viewers into a secret here. I am currently about to go into level 3 of my media studies course. And my life ambition is to become an actor, but because I'm doing drama and that, you have to do exams, and I'm not an exam person. So this was the thing I can do really easily, and I'm very good at it. And so doing that was like I proved the point that I can do that, and it looks really nice. And then meeting other people to do graphic design, which there aren't many people that a jack of all trades like yourself.
Well, I started, I learned how to do graphic design at QI. QI is the best company for investing in people. Sorry, it's not really a horrible phrase, but like they do. John and Sarah, they are fantastic employees because they give you lots of room and resources to work out what you're good at and learn new skills. And I literally started off doing graphic design we were making a new website and I was putting together ideas for how it would look, and I was doing it inside Microsoft PowerPoint, and I never used any image editing software in my life, and I've gone from that to being able to basically do professional graphic design.
Because I made my own website as well. It doesn't look the best on mobile because I use Wix, Wix website editor,
I
and
use
it's
it as well,
so,
yeah.
so I still
Great
need
on
to.
mobile, yeah.
Yeah, I still need to work on editing it for the mobile side, but my website had everything. It had an art section. Now I've got a graphics tablet because I've got 3 monitors. I've got a graphics tablet that doesn't work because of Apple's Big Sur. It doesn't work. But I used to do drawing live streams, and my drawings had got to be the funniest thing ever because they were awful. They were like little stick man that didn't even look like a stick man, or a half green background. I tried to do drawing Doctor Who from memory, and now I knew the characters, but I just couldn't draw them. So I tried to draw
It's
K9. It looked like a square box with like a mini head and no neck.
I'm a terrible drawer. I'm actually working with Emily, who's one of our other QI
Mm.
elves, who is again becoming a professional illustrator off the back of QI.
Yeah.
Actually, she was an amazing drawer, but she does all the illustrations in Funny You Should Ask, which you will have noticed. And we basically have, like, we've had Zoom meetings every week where she puts all the illustrations up, and I sort of give feedback and send them back and make changes and tell her what to do and sort of ask things, and which is. So I always have so many opinions on what it should or shouldn't look like.
Yeah.
I can't do it myself, and it's such a weird feeling.
Yeah.
Giving all these sort of instructions saying, no, the legs on that zebra are wrong. I don't know how they're right because I don't know how to draw a zebra, but they look right. And just sort of saying things like that. It's weird not having a skill like that.
Yeah, and I mean now going on to something that you might not be able to answer. Do you listen to much? Have you heard much Radio 4, like on the shows they produce?
I do. I have it on in the mornings and sometimes the evenings. But which shows are you referring to?
Well, you'll be able to answer this question then. What is your favorite Radio 4 show?
Oh, that's a good question. It depends on the time of day. So I love listening to, gosh, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one in like Saturday mornings with Richard Coles and Nikki Bailey is like the best show. I love that.
Yeah.
It's not a comedy show, but they are really funny, and it's just like a really fun, chatty show. I love the news quiz. I think that's just like it's just so cozy.
Yeah.
I love it, and I hate whenever it's not on, because I just think it should be on every week forever.
Oh.
I think it should have seasons. I wish I could just have it so that I could just listen to it on my commute or whatever.
Well, I think it's available. I've heard it's available on Audible.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I better check that out because I'd love to listen to my.
I Google these things, and British Comedy Guide, best website in the world.
Great website. Love that website.
This has been added to the British Comedy Guide website because me and Mark, I'll give you a shout out now, Mark. Me and Mark, who love emailing each other, he uploads everything that I've done on British Comedy Guide, which is another way of getting me out there into the world, because I'm also part of the pro. And so when you Google a program, it's on there. It's either on CD or it's on Audible. 99% of the time it's on Audible. Now I think it's like from my memories, series 19 to like the second to most recent series.
Fantastic.
Is all available.
Check that out.
Yeah.
I love Desert Island Discs.
Yeah.
That's great. Very, very chilled out. Love that NP program.
Yeah.
What else do I like that's comedy? I mean, I love John Finnemore's Souvenir Program. Anything by John Finnemore.
Yeah.
So his Cabin Pressure, like one of the best sitcoms out there.
Yeah.
Good. And then going back a bit further, Bleak Expectations.
Yeah.
Wonderful show. I listen to that every Christmas. I get through a couple of series. It's very specific for me.
Yeah. And I love the radio because it's interesting, because with radio, how it used to work was radio was produced, then if it was good enough, it got converted to TV. And I was listening to the day-to-day reunion that happened on yesterday, and what they did was Whose Line Is It Anyway started on Radio 4 and then got moved to Channel 4 because it was such a phenomenon, and that's incredible. But one of my favourites is Claire in the Community, which is Sally Phillips. And a funny story, my mum was going to get me series 1 for Christmas. And so she bought it and she lost it. And then when you go on Amazon, it doesn't show that she's purchased it. So she's writing on a list of things to find. I always think she's got a bit too lally. I think it's got to her head that she's Claire in the Community. Blue, I need to find this. And she never does. It's never where she thinks it is. And it doesn't even show up on Amazon that she's purchased it, which is even funnier. But one of my favorites that I was interviewing Sam Ward, who is a comedy producer, He's one of his favorites, and one of mine is The Goon Show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of that stuff is on Radio 4 Extra, isn't it?
Yeah.
Check out more of that because I don't listen to it nearly enough. And whenever I turn it on, there's something different on there. But
BBC Radio.
There's such a huge back catalogue of amazing stuff on Radio.
Yeah. Radio BBC Sound has a comedy collection and drama so you can listen to back catalogue of The Archers and The Archers Omnibus. But with the comedy collection, you can listen to fantastic shows like Act Your Own Age, The Rest Is History. And the one thing that really weirds me out that you might agree is David Mitchell's panel show, Unbelievable Truth. Because I feel like that's too similar to Would I Lie to You?
Oh no, I feel like it's a little bit of like a cousin to QI. We love it. It's good. They're great. It's a sort of interesting facty thing based around a quiz, and so it's always nice having David on the show when he sort of like knows a fact from there.
Yeah. Do you reckon No Such Thing as a Fish will ever make it to BBC Sound? Because Richard Osman's Birthday Game is going to Radio 4.
Oh, is it? I think probably not because I mean, I don't know, never say never, but like, I think like podcasting is quite like an indie sort of. There's something about podcasting in the fact that we make it ourselves and we produce it ourselves, and then it goes out straight on the internet. So there's no real need for it to be anywhere else. I mean, like I suppose you could also put it on the radio or something if somebody wants to broadcast it. But like first and foremost, I think the amazing thing about podcasting is that anyone can make a podcast if they have a microphone and some editing software and then put it out on the internet. And so it's really democratized media creation in the same way that YouTube has. But there's something about podcasting which is you can make a professional quality show with a little bit of money, or you start off and you make some money. And so there's something great about that.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about this just then, and a hilarious idea would be to create a pirate radio station called Facts, and then just like because no one's gonna argue against it, just stream every episode, No Such Thing as a Fish. Just as a pirate radio station. You have to tune in to 111, 118 because it's just an advert. It's just because it's.
Do we get like a Radio Caroline boat? I'll do it if I get to go out onto a pirate ship.
Well, it'll probably just be on a rubber dinghy.
Oh. Proper shit.
Yeah, but it won't be on a river. It'll just be on one of those paddling pools. You were just sat in a paddling pool saying, "Welcome, we're playing from the paddling pool in Chordish today, and welcome to listening to The Fact." And then you'll have to run away from the BBC by just moving the paddling pool a lot more further away.
I think that's gonna work. So
no, but that'd be a very good comedy skit. I think the radio is as of lately has been coming back because Series C has released a lot of their programs radio. So they've done a Dick and Dom Diddy Pod, which is Dick and Dom's Diddy series that they've been doing for years.
I remember watching Diddy, Dick and Dom.
Yeah. So they did Dick and Dom from Dick and Dom the Mungo. Then they did Diddy Movies, then Diddy TV, and now Diddy Pod, which is their podcast of Dick and Dom with high-pitched voices saying, "We're here with Beyonce!" And I'm like, who? Beyonce? And so now going back to the book here, where can people buy this and how much for?
You can go to it's everywhere, but you can go to qi.com/funny you should ask, and that will take you to somewhere to buy it. And I can't tell you how much it is. I think it might be around $12.99, but it might be cheaper now because it's been out for a while. And the sequel is coming out very soon, so you should look out for that. It's called Funny You Should Ask Again, and it's bright red.
Yeah.
And that's got just as many and even more questions.
Yeah.
So we're literally just putting the finishing touches on that now. So
wow.
If you've got one, buy the other one. If you haven't, buy them both.
Yeah. And you can get the Audible version in several different ways. You can pay for the Audible version if you want to for, I think it's a little bit cheaper. Or you can get it on Audible through Amazon Prime if you've got the Audible subscriptions. You can use your one free credit. Or I think it's on audio CD, but I can't guarantee that. Do you know that answer?
Ooh, I'm not sure either.
Because sometimes they are.
I'm surprised if it was, yeah. I mean, if it is, it'll be available. It'll definitely be on Amazon, and you'll be able to find out if you Google "Funny You Should Ask Audiobooks."
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find it.
Yeah. and I would highly recommend you getting this. I would recommend you get a hardback more than a paperback, because hardbacks are far better. I
Hardback.
feel less worried. Yeah. It's like when I ask for books for my birthday, I ask for them, and then by the time my mum comes to look, right, are you sure you want this? The hardback's been sold, and then I put them in a bag, and a lot of my books bend. So then before I got more room in my shelves, I spent a whole month with them in a pile in a heavy order, so they could all flatten.
Oh, that's smart. So yeah, no, I think I love a hardback, but I like to read them at home, and then if I take a book with me, I hate carrying hardbacks around, and
they're heavy.
To be honest, I hate carrying paperbacks around. I hate Kindle. So like, I really struggle to take because I find them really too heavy. But I like a good book, like a real book.
Yeah. Audible. Since we've got Audible, it's been a lifesaver because I love TV, but when you're out and about, you want to listen to your favorite TV.
It's exactly what I do as
personality.
well. All I do is listen to audiobooks all day long. I just and I've got my because you wireless headphones in as well. You just leave your phone on the counter and just like listen to entire books in one day. It's great. I
listen to audiobooks and then podcasts because with audiobooks, it's with Audible, you've now got something called Premium Plus, I think it's called, where a lot of books that you would have to use credit for are now free within the Audible. So all of Richard Ayoade's books are now available just for you to download if you've got the Audible subscription. Now, going on to audiobooks, not just the amazing QI audiobook that I listened to over a weekend and finished this morning. What is your favorite audiobook? And you can't say an audiobook that you've been in.
My favorite audio book.
Yeah.
Of course, that's hard because I would class, Bleak Expectations an audiobook because I listen to it like an audiobook. I have been listening to. I tell you what, nearly all of the Bill Bryson books. About half of Bill Bryson books I listen to via audiobook, and I listened because Bill Bryson reads most of them.
Yeah.
And they are charming, and I loved listening to them. And I did a lot of like walking around in the middle of the countryside, in the middle of nowhere, listening to Bill Bryson books. And I don't know if you have this, but I have really strong associations with. If I went on holiday and listened to a certain book, I would then really strongly associate that book with that sun or kind of like that. And so I very strongly associate certain audiobooks or certain shows with where I listen to them. For example, I listen to all of Do the Right Thing, the podcast, the panel show podcast. I discovered it and binge listened to it over a period.
I love that.
And every single night, basically, I was at university and I was really busy and just like having a very tough week. And so I didn't have any time to do anything. And then literally like 11 o'clock at night, I would just like go and cycle around Cambridge listening to Do the Right Thing for like an hour and a half.
I love that. That's an incredible podcast.
With it is so strong, and I just like it's a very damp smell of like deserted, dark Cambridge street. And listening to do the right thing for hours and hours. So like I have that association.
Yeah, they would be incredible to interview because that is a fantastic podcast.
It's a great show. You should try and interview them.
Yeah, I'll try and interview. But fun fact. When you run about smell that, I've never smelled anything in my life before. I'm like the weirdest person on earth.
You're anosmic.
I'm like, so anything that say, oh, that stinks, I'm like, what? So if someone lets one rip, I only know someone's let one rip if someone reacts to it. That's when I
have a sense of taste though.
Yeah, I can say something. But we've worked out recently that I don't know the difference between sweet or sour, which is because I'm quite stupid. I feel like I'm quite stupid sometimes, and I find it hilarious because they say, "Oh, you can't have that. That's too sweet." I'm like, "What?" Because I don't know the difference. But with books, I love audiobooks because they're really easier to listen to, but I love having books because then I've got them in my collection. Then I can say I've got them in my collection. Now, who is your favorite author of all time?
Oh, that is so hard. That is such a hard question. I don't know. It changes week to week. This week it's Robert Harris because I've just been consuming all of his books. Like I'm into a real historical fiction phase. And so I've literally just been like listening to all of his and reading his books back to back. And then, the month before that, it was Andy Weir because Andy Weir wrote The Martian, and the new book came out, which is called Project Hail Mary, which is such a good read. and just absolutely like just consumes you. You know, like a really good book is just your week, and you're just thinking about it the whole week. And I love space exploration. It's all about that, and it's just a perfect book for me. It's so hard. I mean, it just changes every week, every single week. Even when I was a kid, you know, one week it would be J.K. Rowling, and one week it would be Roald Dahl, another week it would be, you know, whoever.
Yeah.
Lemony Snicket.
Yeah. Well, the series Unfortunate Events is a really good series. But my favorite author, and it's like the weirdest thing ever, because when because I love I prefer TV to any other medium, but I just love every other medium anyway, because I'm that odd. But when my favorite author of all time is Agatha Christie.
Oh.
Now,
I haven't read very much of her, but what I have read is fantastic.
She is incredible. Now, any time there's a program about her, I'm there watching it. I'm there watching it. So I've seen an Agatha Christie documentary twice. I know that before she I think it was her daughter, Agatha Christie's daughter, went onto the set of Hercule Poirot, the ITV series, and she said her mother would have loved this because that's the most close to adaptation version ever.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I think that's true. She's a really interesting character. She was a surfer. She used to love surfing.
Wow.
Which is kind of weird to imagine, but obviously like back in the day, like she would surf around Cornwall. And she was very, you know, she didn't like fame very much. And I definitely there was a point at which there was a party celebrating her, and she didn't get let in because the person at the door didn't believe she was Agatha Christie. She didn't really want to argue, so she didn't and there needs to be a good biopic of her if one hasn't been made. She's a fascinating character.
Yeah. Well,
another person I've just read is Mary Roach, who's a wonderful author. She writes science books. She's like a science journalist and author, and she writes. If you're interested at all in like space or just weird stuff, she's such a QI writer. She writes books. She's American, and would really check her out. She's one of my favorite authors.
Yeah.
Every time a book of hers comes out, I go straight to reading that.
You need to get her on the podcast.
Well, we did. We did a 24-hour comic relief live that went out, and she was one of the people who joined us, and so I got to meet her, which is fantastic. And
then with Audible, I'll say this, and we'll move on to our last few things. With Audible, when you search about Agatha Christie, because there was audio recordings of her, there's an audio recording of her reading her own autobiography. And it doesn't sound the best, but when you listen, I listened to a sample, and it doesn't sound the best, but it's still one of the things I'm gonna get with one of my credits, because it's something that it's interesting to listen to how she perceives herself.
Listening to authors read their own books, and I love listening to composers playing their own music.
Yeah,
Gershwin play Gershwin and stuff like that. It's fantastic.
And Beethoven's one of those ones that everyone loves, but he's up there. Classical music for me is quite odd, because on Apple Music I've got an orchestra playlist, which is everything orchestra from your classical to your TV orchestra, so like Murray Gold and the Radio Philharmonic Orchestra to Bach and to the Royal Army, the army people, the Queen's army people, and you listen to them like blah blah blah, and you're all like, oh. And apparently that type of music wakes my dad up. It doesn't make him fall asleep. Sometimes when you're on a long journey, you might doze off to a concerto or two, but according to my dad, it keeps him awake.
Yeah, I think it's the big, like, kind of loud, violent march.
Yeah. And I like how it like tells a story. And when you listen to classic FM, you have to explain the story behind it. Like there was a man walking down the road, he's like, he's about to get eaten. But I don't like it when it's mixed with ballet, because I just don't fancy ballet. It doesn't. See, I used to when I was in nursery, because you had to, because you're a small child, and ballet never seemed to be anything interesting.
Ballet, no.
Yeah.
Some of the music, but
Do you like the Royal Shakespeare Company?
Yeah, I do. I haven't really seen a lot of what they've done. I have a friend who works in theatre who gets me quite weird theatre tickets, and I tend to like more modern stuff. I'm not a huge Shakespeare person. Maybe I will be when I get older, but I definitely don't have much stamina for a really good play.
Well, what I'm about to say might sound like I'm advertising here, but there's a whole theatre collection available on BritBox. So they've got like ballet, Royal Shakespeare stuff, like musicals, so you can watch a really odd film / theatre adaptation of Joseph and the Technical Dreamcoat.
Oh, fantastic! I never realized that was on BritBox. That's so cultured and high class. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I've literally been watching. I watched a whole series of Keeping Up Appearances the other day.
That
really late into the night.
Hyacinth.
So that's my level.
Yeah, Hyacinth. It's Hyacinth Bouquet. No, it's Bucket, love. It's Bucket. No, Bouquet. Right. Right. So now going away from QI, no such thing as a fish. What was it like doing directing? How is that different from your QI and fish work?
Well, I do a bit of it inside QI really, and it's like bits and pieces, promotional materials, and things like that. And we made a pilot recently for a game show, which is one of our new shows, which I directed, and that's actually being recorded as we speak in Scotland, and will be out on BBC One.
Do you know what it's called?
It's called The Tournament. Yeah, The Tournament, and that's really exciting. I don't know when it's going out yet, but it was really, really fun. And I don't know, I loved it. I mean, I'm a very visual person, and I think I feel like, I don't know, when it comes to making TV and film, I think that I'm quite a holistic person, and I don't really believe in just doing one single job. I feel like if you have an idea,
you have to do everything.
You need to see it through. You have to, you should be involved in the script creation, and then you should be involved in the filming, and then obviously if you're doing that, then you have to be involved in the editing. You can't pass it on to someone else, and so I mean that's more of a creative thing, but no, it's super fun. It's like, and I love the ethos of it. It's the community and working in that. That's what I love about it. It's not just the making of the thing. It's the fact that it's the most fun people having a fun time, and everyone who comes and works on a TV set or a film set is passionate about what they do. And the green room chats in QI are the best because the team is brilliant, and it's a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and bases and stuff. But they're all they want to have a fun time. They're not all just working in a bank. Everyone has worked really hard to kind of get there.
Yeah. Now moving on to one of my final questions, because I don't want to be here all night.
You've been here a while.
Not because I'm loving this interview, but when it comes to me editing, I might be here all night, and funnily enough, I'm not the best fan of listening to myself back, even though I don't mind it. It's just sometimes I feel like I sound completely different how I think I sound. So it stuns me. But
that's one of the questions that we answer in the next Funny You Should Ask, actually. Why do I sound so different on recordings? Yeah.
Now, a question that I asked Sam Ward when he was telling me about working with Cleaner, because that's got a star-studded cast, and you'll have a different answer because you work in a different sort of area. You wouldn't get Helen Bonham Carter appearing on QI, or you might do.
We might do, yeah.
Who knows? But do you ever get starstruck when you're in the studio?
I think you do, like when you just got started and you're not used to working with really big names. You do get a bit like in the early days, but then after like a year, you just get used to it. And the only times I get starstruck are when it's like people, meeting J.K. Rowling a while ago was a bit weird because Harry Potter was such a big part of my life growing up. It's a huge, just like part of your consciousness, and it's how you communicate with all of your friends. And it's quite a unique. It was a few years ago now, but it's quite unique that something so massive in your life all came out the head of one single person, and so that was quite interesting. And then also Buzz Aldrin I met, the second on the moon, which is again like shaking his hand and being like, wow, I'm shaking the hand that was on the moon. Like that was pretty cool. I don't think I was starstruck. I talked to them, but those are the two that I remember being like
wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
I met David Frost very briefly, and that again was like, wow. But everyone else is just kind of like, I think when you're in the studio, you're just, they're here to do a job and you're here to do a job, and you sort of have to forget because they're all just sort of on an equal footing. And help to kind of, you have to forget the celebrities.
Yeah. And now going on to the second to last question. Now I don't know if you agree with what I'm saying, but what was it like with with having Brian Cox on QI, because when I saw him on it, he seemed like a very quiet person, because he, even though he does Infinite Monkey Cage, which is a comedy, so he is quite funny. But how did having him on Q, because he didn't sound like he said much. Just seemed like he.
I don't think I was there for that episode, or if I was, I think because that was the episode I think when I was doing my exams at uni, so I was there for. I came for the episodes and worked on the episodes. I didn't have exams on that day, but like I think sometimes people can be quite. I mean, like Brian Cox is someone who he's not like a comedian, but he's a intellectual, kind of like academic broadcaster. So I think you're not going to get as many laughs because that's not kind of what you bring them on for. And I quite like that in QI we don't just bring in comedians. Sometimes we
you bring in scientific
interesting people or like
Yeah.
just people who are interested, and like so I think maybe it was a quieter episode. But also I think Ross Noble was on that episode, wasn't he? And I mean it's very difficult to get a word in edgeways when Ross Noble's on.
Ross
He brings all the
Ross
energy.
Noble is
and
brilliant.
Brian Cox brought all the facts about Titan and everything. So I feel like it was quite a good double act. He, Brian Cox quietly brought the facts, and Ross Noble turned them into jokes.
But fun fact about Brian Cox, my mum won't mind me saying this because she's quite proud of this herself. But she went to school with Brian Cox.
Oh wow!
And one of her friends, who is now a musician, was in the band that Brian Cox was in before he went off to do science.
Oh cool! That's
so, but I don't think Brian Cox never went to a school reunion. I asked her, he never turned up to a school reunion. But I don't think Brian Cox will remember anyone he went to school with.
Schedule. I'm sure he just had a conflict.
Yeah. He's more likely to remember Darren O'Brien than any of his school friends.
I'm sure that's not true. I'm sure if he saw your mum, he'd remember her.
Well, we don't know. Now going towards the end of the interview now, thank you for coming on to the channel to let me interview you. It's been a pleasure to chat to you.
No, pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Now at the end of these, sometimes I forget to ask, or all the time I forget to ask, but I'm remembered this time. Is there anything that, because you are on the internet and you will be on the British Comedy Guide website, so hopefully more people will see this. Is there anything you want to promote or tell anything that you've got exciting coming up that you want people to know about?
Well, we have a new series of QI coming up really soon, Series S, which is coming out in, I think it's going to be September. So it's out pretty soon. We still don't know when it's coming out yet, but we've got, I mean, so many great people on this year. We've got some great people. I mean, we've got Ivor Graham on for the first time.
Wow.
We've got Susie Ruffle, Jamali Maddox. We've got Rose Matafeo is on. And then Ahish Shah is on, so like loads of really cool new faces, and we've obviously got like all the classics: David Mitchell and Bridget Christie and Sarah Pascoe, Aisling, Nish, Victoria Coram Mitchell. Like I mean, it's a great series. So that's coming out soon. That's going to be really fun. And we've got this new book coming out. Funny You Should Ask Again. That's out soon. Podcast out. The podcast is doing a live tour in a few months, which should be really exciting.
Do you know whereabouts it will be touring?
Up and down the UK. If you go to nosuchthingasafish.com, you can find all the dates. It's a proper tour. It's very exciting.
Yeah, there will be a link to nosuchthingasafish.com in the description. I am promising this. Sometimes I say I definitely am going to do this because it's a fantastic website. If you look at it, it's a website of pure dreams. Not as like pure dreams as the British Comedy Guide, because so in the order of websites,
another level.
In the order of websites, it goes British Comedy Guide, then No Such Thing as a Fish, then Amazon. Because Amazon, you go on there and you end up buying something. So it's in the top 3, but it's a little bit like, you have to buy something. And also, don't forget, you can still buy Funny You Should Ask from Amazon, and you can get the audiobook from Audible. It is amazing, and it is worth every single penny, because you will remember stuff, and you'll be able to tell your friends at a dinner party. You're able to go up to them and go, I know this fact. And then they'll probably just walk off because they'll think you're being too intelligent. Yeah. Do you go to many parties?
But I do like a party, yeah. I do like to corner people and tell them interesting facts.
Yeah, well, that should be a podcast of its own. Interesting facts that your friend at parties might not enjoy, but you'll enjoy because it's so funny.
Good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you should make that podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
not that you've not got enough else to do, but yeah.
I've got free time. Yeah. But anyway, guys.
So nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget, if you're not familiar, if you listen to this or watching this from the British Comedy Guide website, on the Tom Mason YouTube channel, there's a playlist called Interviews where you can watch all my interviews in chronological order with the deleted scenes and bits and bobs underneath them. So you'll be able to find this interview there, or British Comedy Guide on the Tom Mason profile, or just search Alex Bell and it'll be in his video section. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I'll see you all next. Oh, I was going to end it there. I'll see you all next time. And keep your eye out for Thursday, because something interesting else might happen. Ta-ra! Chatty bye. I've never said that word before.